Here we are in Egypt. We're at the pyramids. We'll be there in a moment, and I'll be leading you up the main entrance to the throne room of Thutmose III. It's the largest pyramid. It's called the Pyramid of Cheops. It's been here since 1800 BC. That means it was here a couple of hundred years before Joseph got here with the children of Israel. They were in town for 400 years, and then they started their trek across the desert, through the Sinai, into the Promised Land. Let me tell you a little story about Joseph. This goes back to Genesis chapter 40. Well, he was pretty proud. He was his father's favorite. And he told his brothers about a dream he had of them bowing down to him. They didn't like that, and so they sold him into slavery. It was a itinerant merchant group coming by on camels, and off he went to Egypt. He served in Egypt for a while in Potiphar's house, but with a false claim he was thrown into jail. It turned out that he was put in the same jail as the butler and the baker. And this was God's way of showing him favor. It didn't look like favor because he was here for 4 years. But he was able to interpret the dreams of the butler and the baker for Pharaoh. And there was going to be a great famine in the land, and there was for 7 years. And then there was going to be 7 years of plenty. And so the idea was, harvest as much as possible during the 7 years of plenty and store it for the 7 years of famine. That's exactly what he did. And he rose to be the most powerful person in all of Egypt. This is how God had rewarded him during adversity for his faithfulness and his service. Well, you know, his brothers came by because there was a famine in their land, the land of Canaan. They didn't recognize him, but he recognized them. And the story plays out. They finally move to Egypt, and he introduces himself to them. They were afraid of him at first. They were afraid of reprisal, but that wasn't Joseph's idea. He had the idea to restore them and save the nation of Israel and the people from Palestine and the land of Canaan, which is what he did. And so Satan meant it for evil, that is, Joseph being sold into slavery, but God meant it for good and worked it out for good. And so my son, when he was 12, and we used to pray on the bed for an hour every night against it. I took him to the mission field in Romania. He was just a little boy, kind of short, with a sweatshirt on. He followed me around wherever I went for a couple of weeks, and we ministered across the country. Well, later he became very good in football. His dad had played college football at Indiana, and he became all-state at Horizon High School for 2 years. And he was getting sports scholarships from UCLA and San Diego State, and we thought, well, that would be great. And then something happened that was unexpected. His senior year in high school, after the football season was over, he went skiing, and someone ran over him and broke both of his jaws. And he had a hard shirt for a couple of months, lost quite a bit of weight. And he came to me one day and said, "Dad, do you think I should be a college football player or be a college minister? I have an opportunity to be the Rock Church minister at San Diego State." And I said, "Son, you love football, but football will never love you. Look at my broken fingers. Look at my broken knees." I said, "I think you need to be a campus pastor." Well, he did become a campus pastor for 4 years. And then one day he said to me, "Dad, guess what?" I said, "What, son?" He said, "Next month I'm graduating from college, I'm getting married, I'm buying a house, and I got a new job." I knew about most of those, but not all of them. And he did serve at Skyline Wesleyan with Jim Garlow and John Maxwell for 4 years. And then he started his own church, and it's 1.5 years old now, and he has 3 services. They're all full. It's down near the waterfront. It's a ministry to the millennials, Generation X, Y, and Z, and all the young people. And if I go there, on Sunday, the late service, I get to see the grandkids and the whole family. So that's what I do. But it's kind of interesting that through this adversity that Weston mentioned from the platform twice within the last 6 months, Satan meant it for evil. And where he was going with Weston's life, my son, Weston, age 28, and God took him to someplace else. And Weston was faithful during adversity, and he's preached on this before. And now he's being used mightily by the Master. And so I just thought of that as we're standing here in Egypt, because it was a similar story to that of Joseph being faithful in adversity until God works out his plan, and he meant it for good. Thank you very much.